Welcome back to another video. So I'm excited about this one because specifically we're going to be talking about emotions and how emotions will help you, but oftentimes how emotions are basically a superpower, but oftentimes they can hurt people, especially when they're feeling negative emotions. Because who doesn't love to feel positive emotions? Laughter, joy, bliss, excitement, anticipation. These are all great things, right? These are all great things. So we want to continue feeling those things, but we don't want to feel the negative emotions as much. But that's not possible. So, what if we could find a way to take the negative emotions that we feel and use them for our benefit? So, in the context specifically of decisions. Now, I've spoken about emotions before in a very technical way, as far as how to relate to emotions in such a way where they feel heard, they feel understood, they're recognized, and they're communicated with in such a way that allows them to integrate within you, right? Elements of the darkness revealing themselves and regarded with compassion so that they could actually integrate into your body and into your consciousness such that when they reappear, number one, they're not seen as foreign because they're permanent visitors, as I've spoken about previously in other videos. As far as they keep coming back, they're going to keep coming back as if a visitor will never stop knocking at your door. The last thing that you want to do is yell at that visitor if you know for an eternity from now until you die, the visitor is going to come back. So you have to treat that visitor with respect. You have to be able to find out, be curious about what it's looking for. So I'm not speaking about emotions in that sense. I'm speaking about emotions in the sense of making decisions. And the reason this is going to be very important is because, and this is a key distinction, is that oftentimes we think that, okay, positive emotions are fantastic, right? But what about making decisions using that filter? Is that good? Interesting question, right? Perhaps the answer is you don't want to make decisions, especially important decisions, from a place where you're feeling a lot of like joy, excitement, enthusiasm, anticipation. You also don't want to make decisions from a place of negativity, pessimism, anger, frustration, right? So again, these emotions, they basically act as filters. So we're not talking about how you regard the emotions. We're talking about when to make a decision, right? Especially when you're reaching decision points in your life. And when I say in your life, I mean like even at a small scale. Let's say you're considering buying something. That's a good example, right? Doing some kind of training program, enrolling in some course, going out for a second date with a person, right? That's a good one. That's a good one. So remember, when you're making decisions, the most important thing that you can do is come to a place of equanimity, right? Where basically you're taking all of this and you're allowing it. You're not forcing this, right? You're not forcing this process to occur. You're kind of like allowing this shift, right? To kind of like settle into a still pond, right? And you're kind of like becoming calm. So you're sitting with those emotions, right? You're allowing them to settle, right? Whether it's negative or positive, you're kind of like allowing those emotions to settle into a still pond, right? And the reason that's important is because think about it like this with this analogy. This is about clarity of mind. There's a thunderstorm going on above a pond, right? Thunderstorm of emotions. It could be great, right? Feeding the grass and all the animals are happy, whatever. But you can't really see clearly across the pond, right? Like you have a target, but you can't really see it clearly with all of that going on. It's not necessarily bad, it can be bad, right? But it's not necessarily bad. So, well, technically, nature is not bad in and of itself because it harmonizes, but whatever, right? Things die, things get reborn, born, they die, whatever, right? Circle of life. Point here is with this analogy is that there's weather happening. Now, the most important thing is that when you're taking aim, you don't want to shoot at that thing, right? That target that you have across the pond in that rainy weather, right? In that stormy weather and snow, like you're not going to just let it fly because you don't know exactly where you're aiming. It's a bit blurry, it's a bit hazy, it looks like it's moving. You're kind of like uncertain, right? So what you need to do when you're making decisions is allow that to kind of like settle, allow everything to settle. Because when you allow things to settle, you will see the target more clearly. And what you thought you saw before, as in like before when you were feeling these positive emotions, may be different than what you see after when you're at a place of equanimity. And I don't mean equanimity as in equanimity basically means like inner peace, serenity. That's what that means, right? So it's almost like you're calm, right? You're just calm. You're calm. It's almost like a feeling good state, right? You're not like feeling bad, but you're not feeling amazing. You wouldn't call it happy, you wouldn't call it joyful, but you're just like, you're calm. So that's the place that you want to be at, ideally, when you're making decisions. The reason why is because you want to make sure that that decision is coming from a place of clarity of thought. So how does this actually apply? I should have spoken about the application because most people have probably clicked off by now. So how does this actually apply? It applies mostly in the form of communication, relationships, right? Also making decisions, but especially when you're feeling something and you act, right? You act in accordance with those feelings because you feel like those feelings are justified, and you expressing yourself in a specific way to a person. So instead of processing your own emotions and allow yourself to feel what you need to feel and to be able to like conversate with yourself, maybe have like different perspectives, and then come to a place where you're like, that's the right approach. Instead, what you're doing is you're taking all these emotions and then you're acting impulsively based off of them. So what is the probability of you making the best decision possible when you're like in a really high state and you make that decision, or you're in a really low state and you make that decision? Like, what is the probability that you're going to take every kind of like element, all of the variables into consideration when you make that decision? It's going to be very low. It's going to be basically zero. You can't take all the variables into consideration because you have too many filters, right? You have that, you're coming at it from that frame, right? You're looking at the world through that frame. So basically when you have equanimity, you can almost consider it like a kind of like a 0 point, right? But your frame is like, the 0 point is like positive above and then negative, kind of like a frame. And this is the 0 point. This is the equanimity, right? Because if you're here, you can only see things over here, right? Above the 0 point. You're like, well, what? I don't see anything else. But if you're here, you're like, oh, this sucks, whatever, right? Pissed off, frustrated, angry. Fuck it, I'm not going to do it. Or I'm not going to talk to him. Or fuck him, I'll tell him what a piece of shit he is. Or whatever, right? You can only see things over here. So once you get to that 0 point, you have clarity, right? You could see things from like both perspectives and you could take many variables. And also the water is calmer. So you're able to make a decision more intelligently with more information. So best thing that you can do, this is not a video about like specifically how to regard your emotions or how to do that, but it's just to let you know that when you are feeling those emotions, the best thing to do is to kind of like sit with them, allow yourself to process them. And I've spoken about that many times in different videos in my articles as well. But the point is, when you do need to make decisions and the decisions are not like super pressing, like if you don't make a decision by X date, that's it. Like decision is over and you need to make a decision. The best thing that you can do in that particular instance is do your best to kind of like integrate things and get yourself to like a calm state. You know what I mean? Before you make that decision. But if you don't have to do that, like don't force yourself to make a decision, like chill. Right. As far as like texting somebody or seeing somebody or making a decision about like buying this thing, just like relax, right? Allow your emotions to kind of like settle, and then you can really think about things clearly. And don't look for reasons to do it or not do it. That's not thinking clearly, right? Thinking clearly is being able to see the entire picture and then understanding that that decision that you're going to make is going to be what aligned with your principles, with your character, which means that if it is aligned with that, like if it's an important decision that you need to make or not make, you have to ask yourself, how is this aligning or not with my principles, with who I'm becoming, with what my goals are, with what I'm targeting, with the next stage or the next like 2 stages or the next 2-3 steps, right? So all of those like kind of like residual points that I made, I've covered in different videos and I can cover more in depth in the future, but keep that in mind, right? Is that when you are going to make a decision and you're feeling emotions, like positive emotions or negative emotions, it's like some to some at some level of intensity that feels like you're not kind of like at peace, I guess, like you're not in a peaceful state, the best thing to do is allow yourself to like sit with things, right? Sit with them. Don't rationalize, don't whatever, right? Don't play tricks on yourself. Just sit with yourself, allow yourself to get back to that, place where you feel like more equanimity. And then you can have like a more holistic picture that's going to be based off of, specifically the principles that you're living by, the type of person that you want to become, the character that you're cultivating, and the goals that you have. So that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it today. And I'll leave it there. So if you liked it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. It always helps. Sign up for my newsletter as well if you haven't. And that's it. If you have a comment, leave it down below because I read all of them. I answer all the questions. If you have a question and you kind of like my style, or if you've seen my other videos and you think there's a lot of value in what I provide, if you ask a question, I literally will record a whole video answering your question, like a 10, 15, 20-minute video. Like I think a lot of the comments that questions that I've gotten in the comments, I've recorded like 20-minute long videos. So there's that. There's that too, which is a bonus. So anyway, until next time, I'll see you soon.